Good evening. When you think about large companies, a large company didn't just happen. It always started small, right? The company started small and grew into something much larger. So as they grew, they depended on improving a lot of things they had, including how they use technology and what they use the technology for. So for a lot of companies, for larger companies, technology was used to streamline operations, to drive productivity, to create processes that are repeatable, to be able to make things more teachable. So this was the role of technology for a lot of companies as you grow. And as you grow up into a larger company, you're looking for bigger things. You're looking not just for automation, you're looking for other things that allow you to dominate the marketplace. So what I'd like to do today is I will not focus on some of the things that are important to large companies around technology. Every large company wants from a technology vendor like us things like 24/7 availability. They want ironclad security. They want uncompromising privacy, all those kinds of things. But that's table stakes. You can't be in business as a vendor if you don't already have that. And so I'm going to focus today on how Zoho looks at larger businesses and what we try to enable for them. Okay, so that's my focus today. So the three elements of enabling a business, we've sort of come at it the same way. And you've seen these three things here. It's about the customer. Clearly, that's why a business is in business. So that's your raison d'etre for being in business. So that's number one. And everything you do to enable that customer is part of what you want to do. Employees, that's your fundamental asset. You heard what Sridhar said this morning. It's the only thing that you use in the company to go and serve your customers and to build that enterprise and to create that value that you sought to do. And of course, the last part is the operations, which is all you need to do to get the company to run, to get the company to function, to streamline everything and so on. Now, all these three have a similar focus, and I touched on some of those before. The focus there is automation, productivity, error reduction, repeatability, all of those kinds of things. And that's what you're seeking to achieve. And that is fundamentally the role of technology. Because all of this existed before technology was there to assist it. But the role of technology is to bring the things that I just said, all those adjectives is what technology brings to a large company. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit and see how Zoho enables that. And then I'll open this up to what we see beyond. I want to put this down in each of these categories. What are you really trying to do? In the customer part, you're actually going through the entire cycle, creating the demand, acquiring the customer, and being able to keep them, right? And retain them. On the other side, for employees, I'll spend more time on that a bit later, but that's an intrinsic part of what companies do, is how they create their own knowledge and wisdom and translate that into what they do. A lot of stuff you need to do that to make employees work together. And of course, operations is everything to run the company. So think of it as different forms of asset management. So what does a company do? It manages assets. It manages people assets. It manages physical assets, right? And it manages financial assets. So anything to do with operations is managing all those assets, right? And if you take that down to how companies are organized, it breaks down typically into these kinds of functional groups. Or they're either functional groups or they're teams within companies. So this would encompass almost what any company does, right? So I'm going to, for the benefit of people here who haven't seen a lot of our products and capabilities, I'll walk through each of these and show you how we are enabling it. What is Zoho doing this? And first of all, assert that we see this entire thing as our playing field. This is what broad and deep means. We want to solve this entire picture. And that's been our long journey of 20 years, and that's been our journey going forward. Some of these are filled greater than others, but this is our relentless journey. So if we come back in 5 years and say what we do, we will start with the same picture, and we'll fill it even more better than where we are today and show you some of the things we've done on top of that. So let's take the first one. This is to do with serving customers. So what does Zoho do here in the middle? Again, it arrays back in those three functions. Think of it as marketing, sales, and customer retention. We have marketing is a set of products various products, enabling various marketing channels for companies. Many companies who start with Zoho products haven't even thought about certain channels. And then they acquire the product, they look at something called marketing automation or a marketing suite from Zoho, and all of a sudden they realize they should be using maybe LinkedIn, or they should be using some form of webinars. So it opens up opportunities for companies to explore new avenues to generate demand and engage with their customers. So that's that top part. In the middle, you have sales, flagship product, CRM. And in some cases, some of these products are from different suites, but they're assembled together to handle that particular sales function. So sales requires contract management. That tool will be part of that kit. Sales requires electronic signatures. That will be part of that kit. So that's the enablement of the sales function. So what I'm really trying to do in the course of this presentation is to take that 50-odd things we do in terms of applications, the other 20-odd things that we do in terms of focus on technology, and thread it all together to show you how it actually addresses what a business needs. Okay, so that's really what I'm trying to do here. So that's the marketing, it's the sales, the customer service, the leading technology there, of course, is customer response and the ticketing system that most companies use today. Once again, a lot of companies who've adopted Zoho technologies realize later that they should have a ticketing system. Surprisingly, there are a lot of large companies that don't have ticketing systems to manage their customers. And now this again becomes a way for them to change that process, bring this technology back in, and achieve those adjectives that I talked about earlier. Okay, so you have these products. Zoho also offers these products brought together in value-added suites. You can see some of them on the right. So I'll cut through these a little bit faster. So empowering employees. This is actually, a lot of energy goes into describing how CX systems work, because that's what fundamentally a company does, serve customers. Less time is spent on the notion of what technology does to enable employees. And a lot of it goes to very operational things. Recruitment platforms, people management systems, ranking platforms, things, performance evaluation platforms, things like that. What's missing at the core of that in terms of employee enablement is actually systems that bring out knowledge in companies. As we talked earlier, and as Sridhar talked this morning, that's the only asset that a company has over time. And tools play a very intrinsic role in bringing out that information, bringing out that knowledge. So I'm going to defer to that a little bit later in a little bit more detail, but I want to bring that out. That's one of the biggest things tools can do, is to unlock the knowledge that is intrinsic within a company. The Japanese have been talking about this for 30 years. They talk about knowledge intrinsic in a company and everything that they do to try and unlock that. So that's, in a sense, tools have a role to play. Of course, knowledge is in people's heads, but tools have a very important role to play in how to pull that out. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, there's information. Part of employees being productive is they have the tools to share, communicate, all the stuff in the middle. They have the tools and capabilities to express their knowledge, and that's the stuff on the top. And at the bottom is everything that they need to get the data, to get the insight from all these systems, connect all the data across all your systems and bring it out. We've entered that world. And so that last part of this is bringing all that information back together so employees can continue to use it and bring out their capabilities even better. So that's the second dimension of the three. Actually, I wanted to give you an example of something over here and how we use it. We have an account management team. Many of you here have account managers. And I'd like to tell you how we actually use some of this stuff ourselves. So we use Connect, which is a group, and we have our team in the group. Sometimes Connect is set up for specific customers, so there's a dialogue with the customer across on Connect. We have another tool, which is Click. As you know, it's a chat tool. And it is used for certain types of communications that are not planned. So you have all kinds of communications in a company, right? You have stuff that is formal, you have stuff that's informal, you have stuff that's asynchronous, like email, you have stuff that's synchronous, that you need responses in real time, and you have things that stay over time, and things that are evanescent, that last 2 days, right? So your tools need to adapt to that. So coming back to my example, we have a case, maybe one of you customers brought up something that's a hot issue for you that needs to be addressed in the next 2 days. We start up a Click group. The account manager, maybe it's Scott, pulls that up, puts together something, finds out who are the people who can address this problem, pulls them into that group. It's an ad hoc. So look what's happening. He pulls them into the group, presents the problem, maybe attaches some documents there. People start looking at it, gets their attention, they get the right notifications. People start discussing, ideas come in how to solve it. Somebody says, oh, I know this other team has looked at a problem like that. It comes to bear on that forum of 4 people that he might have created. Problem has a much better chance of getting solved. The customer has a much better chance of seeing this problem resolved in the next 24 to 48 hours. What happened here? All these ideas were in the company. All this knowledge was in the company. So what happened was the use of the tool to unlock that in a way that these people didn't even belong to the same teams. They belonged to different teams. So it was an ad hoc group that was assembled together, presented with information, given the tools to go and search other parts of the company, put together a solution, disbanded 2 days later. That's the use of technology. And it's not so much the tool, it's how you put it to use and the different paradigms you have to use these tools to solve business problems. Now let's go to the third one. So this is operations. Again, we talked about this, different types of assets. Once again, here we have managing the human assets, people, employees. So you have various tools that go through the life cycle, similar to a CX process, right from demand generation, if you can think of recruiting as that way, all the way to keeping your employees, growing them, developing their skills and capabilities, and retaining them. And you have the back office processes to do with managing your money and revenue and other assets, subscriptions, expenses, all of the things that goes to running a company. You can't imagine a company running without any of that today. If you think of a company running on a model that has any type of subscription, finance itself has had to evolve to address the accounting for those kinds of companies. And the technologies, there was no subscription management software just maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And now there is. And companies that use it can't run their business without it. So this shows you how these technologies have come in and have determined how these businesses will even run. So subscription management is one of them. Operations, these are various tools to set up workflows, manage workflows. Many of the workflows might be custom, things that are specific to a company. So you have tools that can set them up because you might not have these tools coming right off the box. Again, on the right, we have a number of suites that put some of these together in various combinations, depending on what makes sense for your company. So this is the third aspect of those 3 dimensions that Zoho enables for companies. Now, coming back here, I want to take a pause. What we've actually looked at that all these technologies do is about automating things, is about making things easier, and it all comes under the rubric of efficiency. It's making things work better. This is what every company has. You wanted to drill that into your head. I would like to take this a step further. If every company did this, what makes you different? Every company has access to the same software, right? So I'd like to submit that the 4th dimension here is actually about differentiation. That's what companies do. That's what makes them stand up in the marketplace. Every one of you who started as a small company and grew into something larger managed to do that because you did something different from your competitors that allowed you to keep those customers and grow. How did you do that? And how can technology enable that? So that's what I'm going to spend the next part of my presentation on. So the first element here is, of course, the core of what you do. You're a products company, you're a services company, you differentiate on those capabilities, right? We talked about everything here. There's 3 dimensions that can help you do that can help you run those processes, help you run those capabilities, and drive efficiencies into them. But the core of that innovation doesn't actually come from technology. It comes from what you do. You have a better product, you have a better service, you innovated better than the competition to build that product. So the core of that, what technology can do is only support the capabilities and automate some of them. The other 2 are the places I think where technology can actually play a bigger role. So let's take the second one. You have a lot of companies, when they build their better products and services, they also innovate in processes. And the third piece is how they innovate in developing people. So I'm going to talk about how our technologies enable 2 and 3, and how we've done it ourselves even within Zoho. All right, let's take the second one. So this is to do with processes and methods. One of the biggest sources of innovation for companies is proprietary methods. And some things that have happened with software, with enterprise software, is it's actually removed that. Because software has come in and standardized a lot of processes. This is how a sales process needs to look like. This is how an acquisition process needs to look like. This is how a distribution process needs to, or procurement process needs to look like. And what software needs to do is recognize that actually innovation comes from proprietary processes, not from standardized processes. Right? So if you look at how business knowledge is captured in a company, it gets translated into very specific methods. Think of specific companies you know. Think of, I don't know, an airline, like maybe Southwest. Many of you can immediately identify some of their processes that are very different, right? So, or you think of an Airbnb or an Uber. Their differentiation is actually their process. Is exactly what they do. It's their method. So can the software actually preserve and enhance that process? That's the real test. So when you build that differentiation, that's how you generate competitive advantage. It is the process. So I want to talk about how software, besides doing that standardization, besides doing that automation, how it can allow you to do that. And before that, let me take a few examples of proprietary processes. I talked about the airline. So you have self-service portals. This is something that a lot of companies have used to allow their customers to serve themselves at lower cost and at greater convenience. You know, it's not often in times that you get a win-win situation between a company and its customers. Self-service portals are a great example of that. So that's technology that you can deploy to which is very proprietary. In that model, you can bring in you can define the terms of interaction with the company, you can collect information about your customers, and you can decide the models on which you want to engage with them. A few more examples I'll talk about. Life cycle view. Now, a lot of companies, you hear this as a buzzword, but a lot of things that companies want to do is to get a broader information about their customers before they make decisions. And when you use these different technologies, as we heard this morning, they get siloed into different groups. So that information is lost. So the question to ask is, can your technology bring that information together or bring it from these different systems so you can see that whole view, that whole life cycle of the customer? I'll give you an example of that in a minute. So to preserve these proprietary methods, technology has to do two things. The first is it has to integrate information. I touched on that. Think of the customer lifecycle view. Sits in different places. So if you're working with a software vendor, that you have to see how their technology, besides giving you all these productivity apps and business process apps, what does it do to integrate information? The second piece is, what does it do to extend the capabilities? You have a proprietary process. It's different from a standardized process. How will I take your standardized software and adapt it to match my process instead of the other way around, which is what's happened a lot in software, where people impose a process and the company has to adopt that. So this is what Zoho does. And I put them in 3 or 4 buckets here. Integrated apps is on the top left is what I'll start with. So here you've got information pulled from different systems. So here's an example here is invoicing. You know, you have a system you have a finance system that deals with invoice. You have the CRM at the point of sales that deals with an invoice. Why can't an invoice be generated in either system and they know each other? So that's an example of integration of information across 2 different apps that allows you to get that point of view of the customer no matter which part of the organization you work with. So it's breaking a barrier that is typically siloed within functions. Let's take the bottom right. We've built all these applications and we've built these capabilities on top of them that integrate this information and give you a broader view. Single search is a good example. You look for a customer, you go into a search bar, an AI-driven search bar, and all of a sudden you can see everything to do with the customer. Imagine you're working with a contact. You see their emails, you see the stuff that had happened with them during the contracting process, you see everything that happened with them during in their customer support engagement with you, and everything in between in one place. Now that's an example of integrating information across all these applications. So our vision of taking this whole, of serving those three dimensions, was to build these capabilities on top of them so that you can get into integrated information, going back to that advantage that you want to create, proprietary methods, specialized techniques. So to do that, you need this kind of integrated information. Take the example of a common AI framework. We have all these applications. All of them can use natural language front ends. All of them should be queried through voice-based mechanisms. All of them should actually pull information from each other and bring it back to you. That's the AI layer that we built on top of this. So these are examples of integrative technologies that we built on top of those suite of applications. The next part is the extension. So how do you extend capabilities? You have applications that come off the shelf, and what can you do to extend them? So there are many ways we look at here to extend capabilities. It starts with the capabilities within the product itself. So if you had looked at our own CRM 10 or 15 years ago, it would have been fairly rigid. If you look at it now, you won't even know it's a CRM. We have something called Canvas that you can put on top, and you don't even know you're dealing with a CRM. You have modules that you can create. Today we talked about bringing in third parties into the CRM that are not engaged with the primary sales process. That's the extension of a business capability, because it reflects how you would want your business process to work, as opposed to fitting in within the model. Going back down at the bottom is working with third parties. So you also work with other third-party software. That's another way to extend your capability. Somebody's got some capability that's not intrinsic to a CRM. Think of telephony, and you want to bring that into the system. There's a way to do it. There's a marketplace. There's a notion of an extension. You extend the fundamental capability that you've paid for. In other words, you get the value for your asset, not just for what you paid for the software, but what else you can do with it, because other things it links to. The other thing that happens is you've extended the product now, you're able to use third-party capabilities. Going back to the notion of proprietary processes, a lot of times companies have various processes. If you look at someone like, I use the example of Southwest, they do 10 things differently compared to most airlines. All of them are highly proprietary or hard to replicate. And if you were to look at that, those processes are possibly not created anywhere in software. You have a very specialized inbound logistics process. If you're a company in supply chain, that's the source of competence. You can't find a piece of software to mirror that. You have to build it yourself. Or if you're a large retailer and you want competence in logistics, you want to cut your logistics costs, that's the process you want to create. So that's what you have on the right. And that's what we built into our products, the ability to create custom processes, tools to do that. Creators, the best example today, where several people who use Zoho products have built completely customized systems that coexist with Zoho products, but articulated using tools like Catalyst and Creator, and live within that same umbrella of Zoho, within that same system of single sign-ons, of security, privacy, access control, and all of that. That's another form of extensibility that preserves the fundamental differentiation companies want to create because their processes are different. The third way I talked about how companies create differentiation, going back, it's through their products and services, it's through proprietary processes, and the third one should be obvious, it's how they extract the best knowledge out of their people. And this is, again, a big function of tools. And I'll share some things with you. What are some of the things that tools can do to enable that? The first thing is information. Make information available to you. So various tools that can do that, analytics tools and so on. Bring the information of the organization to you. The second example of that is tools that allow you to bring out that intrinsic information. So people have this, can they express it well? There are design tools. Are there tools that can allow people to put down their thoughts more easily? So you have tools that are voice-based, tools that are video-based, tools that are recording, that can record things you do, things that bring together ideas and immediately share them with teams. I talked about that ad hoc example of solving a customer problem. Tools that can bring in ideas right there, even if the person representing it is several time zones away, different country, or even speaks a different language. Those are the ways we're going to unlock knowledge in the company. So that's the second category. And the last one, of course, is again, this is a big thing at Zoho. You have tools that when people work in silos, functional silos in companies, ideas get segregated. The other way it does is when they're segregated through hierarchies, where people actually meet at certain levels, managers meet at a manager level or directors meet at a director level, and there's not that kind of cross-fertilization across the company. Tools actually unlock that. So we, as an example at Zoho, we have so many different click groups and connect groups that are open to all kinds of people. And so that allows someone can post an idea and anybody can react to it. And they're not in a functional silo and they're not in a hierarchical silo. So that brings out some ideas. And you know what? It federalizes it because the good ideas get, it's a social media world, get the clicks or get the thumbs up, right? So you know where the idea is, you know that somebody's idea, you don't even care where they came from. That idea emerges to the top. In fact, I always think of this example. 4 or 5 years ago, we wanted to run an advertising campaign, and Sri here in the US. And Sridhar just decided to put it on, I think, one of our tools, probably Connect. Put it on Connect. And he said, hey, I want somebody to design this. One of the winning design was a person who joined us the previous year from college. None of our marketing guys won it. And this was ad copy, right? So that gives you an idea of how things get unlocked in the company. The tools have an impact on how companies operate, not necessarily the other way around. All right, so this actually encapsulates that. Tools that actually empower people, they start to democratize the thing I talked about, and that enables a certain culture within the companies. And this is an important part of my presentation, actually, because the part that enables people is what we've seen in our 25-year experience. The tools that actually build a certain type of culture that creates these traits that tends to be non-hierarchical, that tends to be open, hopefully ethical at the same time, and also tends to be decentralized. That's a very important aspect of how our company works, and many other companies, when they get relieved of that burden of hierarchy, they see how ideas actually come up to the top. And this is reinforcing. We've also noticed because of a certain culture, you start having a certain decentralized mentality that actually changes the tools itself. So we've seen that cycle in what we've done ourselves. That actually goes and impacts the next generation of the tool, starts to incorporate some of the things we need to be even more federated in our thinking, or create even more opportunities for people to express themselves. Okay, so that's the fourth dimension, which is about differentiating. And I want to talk, the last part was about value. And the point really is how to communicate, how to help you as customers understand how a vendor like us thinks about value. How do we bring value to you? How do we bring value to your business? And this is intended to let you know how we think about this, and let me share that with you. So put it down into 3 sort of buckets. The first one is business fit. So do we fit your business? I'll touch upon that in a minute. So do we fit your business? The second piece is, how is it to work with us? How do you find it to work with us? I call that an operational convenience because that's a big part of value. Do you like working with your vendor? Is it easy to work with your vendor? And what does easy mean? And the last part, of course, is what your CFO would come to you for. What's your return on investment? How do you measure it? What are the elements that even go into that? So that's how we think about how our customers pursue value from us. And I'm going to start with the first one. The first one is a business fit. One of the reasons we have the breadth and depth in applications is we want to solve more problems for our customers. We want to solve higher value problems. We want to solve bigger problems for our customers. And that's a big part of it. Even the most entry level, the lowest editions of our products come with high levels of features. That's by intent. So we want to be able to be in that place where we offer the broader solutions. I talked about the customizability part. Lots of ways to customize. There's one thing you'll hear a typical Salesforce person who is migrated to Zoho tell you, it's this. It's customizability. We can get this to fit how our product works. So that's part of the fit. I talked about differentiation through processes. If you can't have customizability in your software vendor, you cannot differentiate. Innovation, core of what we do. It's more and more products, more and more things that you can use to run your business. Needless to say, privacy, uncompromising. It's something that's becoming more and more important and will get more and more important. It's built into our DNA. As you know, we've forsworn any revenue we could get from advertising, and that's at the core of it. It sets the right type of ethic. So in terms of fit, this is how we see that we bring value to our customers. We fit there, we can solve problems for them, we can allow them to go beyond our products, we will never compromise on their privacy, and we will continue to bring new capabilities. They should expect to see more from us. And this is important. What's happening today with a lot of technology vendors is they keep breaking up their products into smaller modules so they can put another subscription on it. How many of you have seen that? Right? You see, they can put another subscription on it. We do the opposite. We're putting more and more stuff into our suites. We do the opposite. So it's a different way of thinking. It's like we want to put more value on the table because we know that's long-term, we all make money. So the next piece is convenience. So I talked about this. This is the easy-to-do business factor. Enterprise vendors are hard to do business with. Any one of you who've worked for long periods of time with big enterprise vendors will know that. They want to stuff you into things. They want to put you into long-term contracts. They want to bind your arms behind your back. They want to nickel and dime. They want to put all these add-ons. They don't want to be transparent about their pricing. Difficult to work with. And I think that's one of the ethics that comes down from the top of this company is make it easy for people to work with you. We don't want to nickel and dime people. Make things transparent. Keep one price. Put it on the website. Don't say call for pricing. Come put it on the website. Let's understand how you do business directly from how you present yourself. Simplicity. Tim talked about this too. Simplicity is, we have a plethora of applications now. A medium-sized company uses literally hundreds of SaaS applications. I think we ourselves do. So the simplicity comes back into even our suite. We have more than 50, 60 applications. Somebody asked that question earlier. Where's the simplicity in that? So it comes back to what you're trying to solve. And you have also specific problems you want to solve. You want to solve a problem in your distribution, bring together the right products to solve that. Start with the problem you want to solve and bring that technology to solve it. And that's the way to bring simplicity into it. In this world of so many applications. The other thing, and it relates to the third point, is simplicity in the software itself. If it's integrated, you have one AI layer, you have one search layer, you have an underlying single database, you have the ability to put it all under a single sign-on, you have common access and permissions, the CIO can sleep at night. That's your question. That's what the CIO needs, to sleep at night. So I think that's where simplicity comes in, and that's part of that operational convenience I'm talking about. Lastly, return on investment. I think most of you will agree that our software is very affordable, and it's intentionally priced that way. We only keep adding more capabilities onto that software at the same price. And we provide a lot of bundles. Sridhar touched upon that too. That's core of the strategy. Zoho One we're still the only company that provides such a broad base of applications at any price, and we offer it at a very attractive price. So that's part of what we do. Quicker time to realize the value, that's a big part of what you do. When you have customizable software, when you have software that's pre-integrated, when you have layers like AI and search on the top, the customer can get to solving their problem more quickly. I think we've done research with third parties looking at our software and others, and we're anywhere from 30 to 40% quicker to implement than most software vendors in the market. So time to value and time to value is one of the most critical things in complex software today. So these are the different ways that if you actually want to talk to a CFO, you would talk about how to identify the value in investing with us. So I want to just summarize here. I wanted to bring out that our goal was to be broad and deep and solve a lot of business problems. At the same time, we also wanted to preserve and, in fact, enhance the ways companies can differentiate themselves through their own business processes. And we go about this whole thing with a clear mindset on value, because we know long term that's how we're going to keep our customers. Thank you.